Hi, this is a computer running Left 4 Dead 2. Nothing impressive considering it's a pretty old game, but there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. Now some of you may remember this HP Z600 workstation. I made a video where I tried gaming on it a few months ago, and determining whether it's worth buying an old workstation like this considering that they're dirt cheap. Now while you can game on it if you have a decent GPU, the performance might be a bit underwhelming, considering this PC literally has 2 processors, and if all you care about is a cheap PC that you can upgrade and turn into a gaming PC, you're better off buying something that's newer and more consumer oriented, something like a Skylake Dell Optiplex. But I never bought this computer with the sole intention of gaming. I bought it to use it as a server, and I wanted to see just what this thing is capable of. Introducing Boris, the mighty hypervisor. Now when I made that video, Boris was running Windows 10 because I was testing games, but nowadays he's running a Type 1 hypervisor called Proxmox. This means instead of just running one OS on this computer, I can have a bunch of different operating systems running simultaneously in VMs. So this computer is running TrueNAS Scale in one VM, Zorin OS in another VM, Windows Server 2019 in another VM, and what's nice about Proxmox is that you can deploy apps like Nextcloud, WireGuard, Mumble and WordPress really fast because it can do containers in addition to VMs. You might be wondering why I'm not running TrueNAS on bare metal. Well, if all I wanted was a NAS or if I had limited resources, it would make sense to use something like TrueNAS, but that would be boring. We have 16 threads and 32 gigs of RAM to work with, so we might as well make use of it. Now the Zorin OS VM is interesting because I'm passing the computer's USB controller, audio controller, and an RX 570 through to this VM. So I could have this server downstairs doing all my server stuff in the background, but people can still go up to it and use it as a normal computer, and they wouldn't notice anything unusual. Now you can run Windows instead of Linux. In fact that's what most people do with Proxmox when they try gaming in a VM. I just chose to use Linux to spice things up. Plus I don't like Windows. As a matter of fact, if I had another graphics card, I could have 2 setups running from one PC, which is something LTT made a video about a few years ago. Now I just want to show you some footage of Minecraft. When I made the video about gaming on this computer, I showed that Minecraft was only getting around 50 FPS when I was running it on bare metal, and the game had access to all the computer's resources. However, I'm getting over 100 FPS in a VM which only has access to a fraction of the computer's resources. So how is this possible? And FYI, I'm not using any performance mods like Optifine. Well, I'm kind of cheating. Instead of playing in a multiplayer world, I'm hosting a Minecraft server in the TrueNAS Scale VM, which takes the strain off the Zorin OS VM. But even in a single player world, the performance is about the same as bare metal. I assume this is because most games aren't optimized to make use of many CPU cores, and even games that are CPU intensive tend to benefit from a few powerful cores rather than many slow ones. Now what makes Proxmox different to a program like VirtualBox is networking. Proxmox uses bridged networking by default, so each VM and container is assigned an IP address from my physical router. So my router will treat them like separate computers even though they're running on the same physical hardware. Whereas VirtualBox creates another network, and so any connections those VMs make to the internet are done through the host IP. This is how I'm able to have a LAN party between a VM and another computer, and I can even have a Mumble server in the background for comms, because why connect to the internet for voice chat if we're literally in the same building?
Taf entered channel. Taf moved to root. Taf entered channel. Taf left channel and disconnected.
So why am I making a video about this? Well, this stuff is cool, but instead of just showing it off, I'm going to make a series of videos about how you can do things like this and a whole lot more. In fact, I've already made a video about how to install Proxmox, but I recommend watching Network Truck's video on it because he goes into some of the details I skipped over. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, cheerio.